I'm here in Burnaby, Canada, checking out the Voltbike. I've got the Interceptor here, and it's a really interesting setup. These bikes are sold primarily online, designed to be very affordable, but they're pretty well put together. I'm impressed. I mean, this thing, it's about 62 pounds, so a little bit heavier. Part of that, you've got like a rigid aluminum front fork and this overbuilt down tube. This is a size 19 frame. It only comes in one size, but it's pretty handsome. You've got these full-length plastic fenders with mud flaps. You've got a rack, standard gauge tubing. It's even got this little spring latch going on. Front and rear lights that are integrated, so you don't have to worry about that. Some ergonomic grips, some, kind of generic brake levers. They're mechanical and they have a motor inhibitor. It's kind of everything, like kind of check, like all the stuff that you need. You don't really have to buy much along with this bike to ride in the rain or to commute. It does have an adjustable stem. These are kind of nice if you bring it back and kind of create an upright position or a more aggressive position, depending on your ride style. The thing is, they can get a little bit more loose over time, so you can see the sort of the hex wrench pattern in there. Keep that in mind. Just a straight handlebar. I did notice that this right grip is a little bit shorter, and I think they've done that to squeeze in all of this extra stuff, including like a compass bell thing that's kind of neat. But, depending on your hand size, if you look at my hands, they're not especially large, and they kind of barely fit. The trigger throttle is fairly close. I might, put that on the other side of the brake lever. Otherwise, it gets the job done. It does have the remote button pad. It's got the display panel that swivels, not removable. But, it's kind of all Bafang type of stuff that I've seen before. I'm not actually sure that that's what the motor is or not, but anyway, let's get back to the bicycle itself. So we have 7 speeds to choose from. An oversized thumb shifter here that I've seen on some of the older Pedigo bikes and a few other ones. Kind of generic, but it's easy to see and reach, and if you're wearing gloves, those oversized buttons are a little bit easier to interact with. Derailleur back here is a Shimano Tourney TX. It's kind of entry-level componentry, but it's nice that they've got this derailleur guard built in because they are shipping this. They actually ship in the big boxes like that you can see there on the loading dock. Pretty much ready to ride. You just open it up, turn the handlebars. They've assembled it all and kind of tested it a little bit. It's been riding pretty smoothly. Of course, this is a demo unit. They probably wanted to get it just right for me. But I'm kind of impressed. Like, it's a fun bike, especially for the price, which in American dollars, like USD right now, is about $1,600 plus $70 shipping. That's awesome. Canadian, it's I think like $1,800 plus $50 shipping. So it's just the difference in exchange rates right now, and their website will have more info on that. But anyway, 7 gears. It's like that's better than a single speed. And the derailleur, it's like, you're kind of getting what you pay for here, but that doesn't mean that it has to break if you keep it lubed and, take care of it and shift easily through those gears. They do have kind of that oversized gear there for climbing, which is nice, again, because it's a little bit of a heavier bike. A lot of e-bikes that I see might be more in kind of the low 50 range, so 62 it's definitely a little bit heavier, but at least the weight's kind of right there in the center. And I guess some of it's in that back motor there too. So I don't know, it's, direct drive motor is a little bit heavier. 12 magnet cadence sensor, love that. They do have kind of an aluminum bash guard that helps keep your pants clean if they're sloughing over that. Well-go pedals, aluminum alloy platform. And then, if we look at these disc brakes, I was calling out that they're mechanical. It's a 180 millimeter rotor in the front. Right there, you can kind of see that with quick release. It's handy if you need to put this in a smaller space or reduce the weight. I weighed the battery earlier. It's about 8 pounds, maybe like 7.8 or something. So you could significantly take the weight down. 160 millimeter rotor in the back. Kind of what you see is what you get. You got the wires down here. There didn't appear to be, if we look at this, kind of see the wire going in. I didn't see a motor a motor quick disconnect back here. I'm just double checking, but yeah, I didn't think I saw that. We do have quick disconnects up at the front though, so if your display panel broke or maybe the trigger throttle, those would be a little bit easier to replace. But the motor, if you took that off, it's kind of going to be hanging there. I'm trying to just, it's going to be hanging there. So you're going to have to keep the motor close to the rest of the bike as you're truing the spokes, fixing a flat. replacing the tires, which is a little bit less convenient. These are CST tires. They're kind of a hybrid tread, 26 by 2.1. It seems like they work well enough for riding around. And then one of the other things I wanted to call out was just this, charger. It's fun to see these. It's about 1.5 pounds. Very similar to what I've seen with other bikes. 2 amps, does a decent job. And then you also get a helmet. That's why I'm not wearing my standard helmet, this white thing right here. They've also got one with a visor, but this one's a little bit lighter. I think I'm wearing the large, and it's like a little bit loose on my head, but it does connect pretty well, and it's DOT approved, so it's kind of a fun little extra. Get a bike, get the fenders, get the lights, get the helmet, kind of everything you need at a decent price. And I do like the flat black, the design and the integrated battery. Like it's a nice looking bike, kind of fun that way. And the big kickstand feels very sturdy. So let's hit the specs then. This is an 800 watt nominal, 1000 watt peak motor in the back. So fairly powerful, and it's running off of a 48 volt, 11.6 amp hour battery with Samsung cells. So, they're paying extra for those sort of name brand, should last a little bit longer. And again, the battery being really, really nicely integrated into the down tube. It's got an LED charge level indicator right there. This side has the lock, so it is kind of a locking setup. And then there's the charging port, which basically is passing through the aluminum frame right here and straight into the battery. So when you take the battery off, you can also charge it off the bike. So that's kind of convenient. You do have this on-off switch, which is a little bit annoying. First of all, it's close to where your feet are. So if it kind of got kicked, it's maybe a little bit more vulnerable. And second of all, that's just a second step. It's like, okay, turn the bike on, then you come up here, you have to turn it on again. Hold that power button for a couple seconds and the display comes to life. Once it's up, again, this is a little bit adjustable forward to back, but not removable. You've basically got a few different options. If you hold down the plus button for a couple seconds, it actually activates those lights, which I'm a big fan of. You kind of see that right there. A little bit blocked by the wires right now. And the rear light. So I love that. You don't have to have extra batteries run through, and they've zip tied the cable on. It's decent. It's a good job there. And then if you hold on the minus button, there's a walk mode that's like, a few miles per hour. So if you're just pushing this bike up a hill, or maybe you just want a really slow throttle, that's an option. So I'm going to deactivate the lights. This display panel shows your speed, your battery level here with 5 little ticks, your pedal assist level, and then several other just sort of readouts. And you get to those by pressing the power button. So right now we see average speed, max speed, and current speed. Then we go down to odometer, trip time, and it kind of goes back up. I'm going to get back to speed. Okay, there we go. So there is no like throttle only mode. I noticed you can't arrow down to 0. You've just got 1 through 9 assist levels, right, for kind of higher power, higher top speed. The cool thing is that anytime you can override throttle with full power using the throttle. So I like that. It gives you some sort of like efficient riding if you're at a lower level of assist, fairly responsive with the cadence sensor, with the opportunity to just pass someone or accelerate up a hill or something like that. So, it's a decent setup. Definitely works for me. Velo saddle here, Pro Max quick release. Wanted to pull this out. The step-through design here makes the bike a little bit easier to approach. Whoa, it's pretty long here, 27.2. And this seat tube is actually fairly low, even though this is a 19-inch tube length there. You could still lower this and have a decent, a decent setup, be able to reach those bars. And the distance from the head tube to the seat tube is about 24 inches. So just to give you some idea, 19, 24. So there would be potentially some reaching depending on, how long your arms are and what your body type is like. But it is a little bit easier to stand over and fairly well reinforced. Like there's, when I shake it like this, there's not a whole lot of sort of bending happening in the frame. And that's great. Again, not having the battery pack back here, keeping it down there is preferable for balance and stuff. So I'm just gonna wheel it forward a little bit and hop on. We've got some nice hills around here, so I can actually test the power on the battery. I'm just start off cadence sensing and let you get some idea of how responsive it is. probably having a difficult time hearing that. It's very quiet because it's a direct drive motor. There's not gears like spinning around in there. And at the lower end, it's maybe not quite as torquey, so if I just try to accelerate from standstill, it takes a second, but once you get up to that higher RPM, it starts to kick in, and you can hit some pretty decent top speeds, easily accelerated up to that 20 mile per hour mark. And here's a hill. I'll just go ahead and climb this with the throttle, wait for the bike to coast to a stop, and then gun it. There we go. So it's struggling a little bit, but now it's picking up steam. We're having no problem. Look at that. Now we're almost at the top of the hill. We've accelerated all the way up to 33, 34 kilometers per hour. Not bad. It's definitely got that nice kind of scooter feel at those higher speeds, and that power. That's easy to appreciate. Of course, then you got it going downhill too. There is no regenerative braking though. This uses a direct drive motor, but that's just not one of the features that I'm noticing here. It's not part of the control system. And there's probably a little bit of cogging happening. So that's when the magnets inside the motor repel against the stators along the inside of the hub. I might try to demonstrate that real quick. So if I pick up the rear wheel, this, and then I spin it, see it coasts to a stop a little bit more rapidly than if it was freewheeling. So not a huge deal. I think the real takeaway is that it's a little bit heavier, and you've got that bigger motor, which is quiet, it's powerful, but it does, it's the best performing once you've actually got some speed. Definitely. So yeah, that's the Voltbike Interceptor. Pretty awesome. Great price. 1-year warranty. They ship all over the place, ready to ride. And I've been hanging out with the founder of this company and stuff, and he's been doing it for a few years now, since like maybe 2012 time period. He's got a bunch of parts. He works with people to sort of resolve any issues, and it seems like there's been pretty positive feedback that way. I know it's kind of risky to buy online. You can't try it in person. So I would really emphasize sort of the fit, like 19, 24. And they do have some other different models and stuff. So yeah, for the full write-up on this and other Volt bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.